Hello, my name is Gabe Kidman. I am a PhD student working for Dr. Nesbitt here at the University of Georgia. Thank you for being here and being a part of this study. I have been really grateful for the opportunity to have been able to work on this report, and I'm very excited to share the results that we found. Before we jump into trying to understand the trends and research that we found from this report, it's important to understand why what we found is so important. Before 2020, the voluntary turnover rate for nonprofit organizations was around 13 to 14%. Since 2020, the voluntary turnover rate has consistently been around 19%, with some smaller nonprofit organizations experiencing turnover of up to 25%. That's 58.3% higher than the private sector's voluntary turnover rate of 12%. Thus, the goal of this study is to provide more information on how to retain and attract nonprofit employees. Ultimately, turnover is very problematic. It's disruptive, it's time-consuming, and it's expensive. And so we hope that this report will be able to help nonprofit organizations in Georgia better understand the current trends and benefit packages offered by Georgia nonprofits, both large and small. Identify how Georgia nonprofit employees feel about their benefits. Explore the top reasons why employees would consider leaving their current position. And discuss overall levels of employee job and benefit satisfaction and levels of burnout. The data was collected through a 37-question online survey using empirically tested scales. Researchers used snowball sampling methods, starting with an IANP listserv. Data was collected during spring of 2024, and the final sample size for the study was 260 nonprofit employees from 126 unique organizations. The sample includes 63 large and 63 small organizations, with annual budget of $1 million being the threshold that determines the size. Additionally, 40% of the organizations are from the greater Athens area. We acknowledge that there is an Athens, Northeast Georgia bias in the data, and as such, we do not claim it to be generalizable to all Georgia nonprofits. However, we feel this is a unique study with a very robust data set that we can use as a foundation for future studies. And we also understand that nonprofit organizations vary in size, capacity, longevity, and funding predictability. But we hope that you will all be able to make meaningful comparisons with your own organizations from the trends that we're going to discuss. Additionally, further context on the demographic information of the organizations and the individuals. On the organization level, 46% of the organizations in the study have a mission founded in human service. 1/3 have fewer than 5 employees. 48% get funding primarily from government contracts and grants. 46% are over 30 years old, and 68% of the individuals in the study are white, 25% are black, 86% are female, and 52% have children in the home. Jumping into this first part of this report, we're going to be looking at the organizational level, the 126 organizations in the study. We're going to be looking at the different benefits that they offer to their employees. As you can see here in this first table, overall, 65% of the organizations in the study offer health benefits, 59% offer dental benefits, and 56% offer vision benefits. But when we take into account size, we find that smaller organizations are far less likely to offer benefits. And as you can see, they're almost 50% less likely to offer benefits than large organizations. Additionally, even though an organization may offer benefits to their employees, there are some occasions when the employees still choose to opt out of those benefits. As we can see here in figure 1.3, of the 172 employees that are married or living with a partner and that are offered benefits from their organization but choose to opt out, 78% of them receive health care benefits from their spouse, 80% of them receive dental benefits from their spouse, and 63% receive vision benefits from their spouse. For those that are single, that also report opting out of their organization's benefits, we found that using Medicare, a better plan from a second job, or for those that were still young enough, using their parents' insurance were the alternatives. Shifting now from the traditional benefits of health, dental, and vision, it's important to look at retirement benefits. Here we found that not many of organizations in the study are offering them. 52% reported not offering Roth IRAs, 48% don't offer 401ks, and 56% do not offer 403bs. Additionally, though we're not sure why this is the case, we find it interesting that roughly a quarter of the employees report being unsure whether or not their organization offers any form of these retirement benefits. Whether this is an issue in the onboarding or a lack of interest from the employee's part, a quarter of the employees not knowing that their organization offers retirement benefits is significant. When we account for the organization size when it comes to retirement benefits, we find that the disparity between large and small organizations is dramatic. Here, only 5 to 13% of the small organizations offer some kind of retirement benefits. Moving from retirement benefits, we also looked at scheduling benefits. Here we found some very promising and exciting results. The scheduling benefits that we looked at are paid time off, paid holiday leave, annual sick leave, working solely from home, working from home part of the week, working from home only when needed, flexible work schedule, non-traditional work schedules, and sabbaticals. Overall, we found that roughly 80 to 90% of the organizations in the study offer paid time off, paid holiday leave, and annual sick leave. Additionally, we found some interesting results when we break down the data into small and large organizations. Unlike previous benefits, small organizations are doing a great job in keeping up with scheduling benefits. So much so that when we look at full-time telework and flexible work hours, they outpace the larger organizations. A possible reason could be that they utilize scheduling benefits in order to make up for the lack of other benefits that they may feasibly be able to offer. They might find that employees are fine with less benefits for more flexibility and autonomy of their schedule. Beyond scheduling benefits, we also looked at additional benefits that an organization may offer their employees. Specifically, we looked at both unpaid and paid maternity and paternity leave, life insurance, short-term disability insurance, and long-term disability insurance. Here, we found that more organizations offer unpaid maternity leave with 47% than they do offer paid maternity leave with 38%. Additionally, we found that around 50% of organizations offer life and disability insurance. When we break down these additional benefits by small and large organizations, here we again return back to the expected pattern of smaller organizations offering much less benefits than the larger ones. Beyond additional benefits, we looked at professional development opportunities offered by organizations to their employees. Specifically, we looked at attendance at professional conferences, participation in online classes or webinars, journal and periodical subscriptions, membership in professional organizations, and career development coaching. As with scheduling benefits, we found some very promising and exciting results, and ultimately can conclude that Georgia nonprofits do a wonderful job at investing in the professional development of their employees. Specifically, we found that 83% help their employees attend professional conferences, 87% help them participate in online classes or webinars, and 53% help them join professional organizations. Even more encouraging is that as with scheduling benefits, small nonprofits proficiently keep up with large nonprofits. This may be another area where, in the absence of small organizations being able to offer healthcare and dental and vision, they show their investment into their employees through professional development opportunities. We're now going to be moving to part 2 and looking at what employees think of the benefits that they're being offered. We measured employee satisfaction on take-home pay, current salary, overall level of pay, their benefit packages, the amount that the company pays towards those benefits, the value of those benefits, and the number of benefits they receive. We did this on a 5-point Likert scale, ranging from very dissatisfied to very satisfied. We found that about half of nonprofit employees are content with their pay, with 1/5 being pretty neutral and about 1/3 being unhappy. Additionally, when we broke this down into full and part-time employees, we found that their preferences were very consistent regardless of their employment status. In addition to overall pay, we looked at their benefit packages. Here, we found the same trend of about half of the employees being content with their benefits, 1/5 being neutral, and 1/3 being unhappy. However, we did find that over benefits, this was a little more polarizing in that there were more employees that were either very dissatisfied or very satisfied. Additionally, different from pay, we found that when we broke down benefit packages by full and part-time employees, that part-time employees were much more likely to be dissatisfied than the full-time employees. We found specifically that about 45% of the part-time employees were dissatisfied with the number of benefits they receive, while only 23% of full-time employees were dissatisfied with the number of benefits they received. Beyond full and part-time employment status, we also looked at how organization size impacts an employee's satisfaction with overall pay. Here, we found that employees that are a part of larger organizations tend to have more satisfaction than those that are a part of smaller organizations, with 50% reporting being satisfied in large organizations and 38% being satisfied in small organizations. Additionally, we looked at this with benefits and found that there is an almost exact same trend and very, very consistent preferences by both large and small, with again 38% being satisfied in small organizations and large organizations having about 54%. Beyond satisfaction by organization size and employment status, we also wanted to look at a critical breakdown in the data by looking at whether or not an employee's satisfaction depends on whether or not their organization offers benefits in the first place. Ultimately, we can see here in figure 2.3 that there is a direct correlation with individuals being offered the benefits and their satisfaction with their benefits. This particularly was done with health benefits, but we found that the pattern and trend existed with both dental and vision. In addition to benefits, we looked at family-friendly policies and how an employee feels about those. For this study, we defined family-friendly simply meaning organizational policies that allow for flexibility and promote good work-life balance. We found exciting results that nonprofit organizations are doing really well. 78% of employees felt their employer provides family-friendly policies. 82% felt those policies were sufficiently flexible, and 79% were satisfied with the family-friendly policies that they had. The results were very similar across both full-time and part-time employees. And when we broke this down by organization, we found that 90 of the 126 organizations in the study were considered to be very family-friendly places to work, with only 16 organizations explaining the dissatisfied responses. We'll now be moving to part 3 and looking at the reasons that an employee would hypothetically leave. So again, this will be continuing to look at the 260 employees that are part of the study. Here, we asked them to rank low pay, lack of benefits, work conditions, poor organizational culture, difficult relationship with supervisor or colleagues, room for promotion, pay growth, retirement, and personal or family concerns in their top 3 reasons that they would leave. We found that the number one reason why an employee would leave was because of low pay, with 16.5% of the employees marking that as their number one reason for leaving. The second most popular top reason was personal or family concerns, with 12.3% of the employees marking that as their number one reason for leaving. Though not the highest number one reason for leaving, the reason that had the most consistent responses in the top 3 reasons for leaving was no pay growth, with 43.5% including it in their top 3 reasons for leaving their current organization. In looking at this a little further, we found that whether an organization offered benefits greatly impacted how an employee felt about those benefits. People that were not offered benefits are much more likely to report it as one of their top reasons for leaving than those that are offered benefits. With regards to the previous number 1 answers of low pay and personal family concerns, we found that those remain consistent regardless of whether an individual is offered or not offered benefits from their organization. Thus, one simple possible takeaway to increase retention would be to provide benefits, but we understand that that simply may not always be feasible. Beyond breaking reasons for leaving down by organization size, or whether the organization offers benefits, we also looked at age groups. We defined early career from ages 18 to 34, middle career from ages 35 to 54, and late career from ages 55 and over. Early career employees are much more likely to indicate low pay, with 19.4% of them responding, lack of promotion opportunities with 16%, and no pay growth with 21.1% as important reasons for leaving. This is expected given that the older employees may be at the top of their position and pay scales while the younger employees are at the bottom. However, some interesting results is that despite late career individuals not including pay in their top 3 reasons, when we look at their number 1 reason, we find that no pay growth was their highest number 1 reason for leaving. For both middle career and late career, personal and family concerns were also a major reason for leaving. As such, keeping this trend in mind, it could be helpful for resource-limited organizations to be more prescriptive to their employees' needs based on how long they've worked there. Younger employees worry about pay and promotion more than older employees, so maybe increasing opportunities to move up, creating career plans and goals, and providing professional development opportunities could all be great ways to help younger employees feel they have a future at their organization. Middle and older employees worry about personal and family concerns, and so more flexible schedules could prove useful for retaining them. In addition to reasons for leaving, we asked employees the likelihood that they would be at a given organization in a year. Ultimately, we found that 85% of the employees said that they would plan to be at their current organization in a year. 31% said that they would potentially be at another nonprofit. 24% said that they would potentially be in government. And 30% mentioned moving potentially to a for-profit organization. It should also be noted that around 14% of the respondents felt that they were likely or very likely to retire within the next year. In our final section, part 4, we now will look at overall job satisfaction and burnout. Previously, we looked at how satisfied employees were with their benefits, but now we want to see how satisfied they are with their jobs. When looking at job satisfaction, we found really great results, that around 82.8% of the employees report being satisfied at their job. This is including both high and very high. Of those that reported low job satisfaction, we found that 66% of them also reported it being unlikely that they would continue working at their current organization. So what's interesting is that this means that even among those with low job satisfaction, 1/3 of them still plan to remain at their current position. Moreover, those that reported low job satisfaction, these individuals mainly cited poor organizational culture and difficult relationships with their supervisors as the top 3 reasons for why they would leave their current job. So, it's important to notice that despite organizations maybe not being able to offer benefits to all their employees, of those that are not satisfied with their jobs, organizational culture and difficult relationships with supervisor were much more connected and influential on job satisfaction. In addition to talking about job satisfaction, we also looked at burnout. We specifically asked them whether they feel worn out at the end of the working day. They feel exhausted in the morning at the thought of another day at work. if they feel that every working hour is tiring, if they have enough energy for family and friends during leisure time, if work is emotionally exhausting, if they feel frustrated, and if they feel burnt out at work. We ultimately found that around 55% feel worn out at the end of the working day at least half the time. 50% feel that work is emotionally exhausting half the time. 48% do not have enough energy for family and friends half the time. And 1/3 feel burnt out and exhausted at the thought of another day half the time. In addition, upon further analysis, we found that these are not the same individuals sharing the same feelings for each of these areas. Finally, in connection to burnout, we looked at work-life balance. Specifically, we asked them whether they felt that their supervisor encourages them to set appropriate work-life boundaries, whether their supervisor models those appropriate work-life boundaries, whether their supervisor asks them whether they feel burnt out in their job, and if they feel that their supervisor cares about their mental and emotional health at work. Ultimately, we found that nonprofits are doing a really great job in Georgia. Employees, around 75% of them, reported that their supervisors care about their mental and emotional health and encourage them to set appropriate work-life boundaries. The only room for improvement that we found was that supervisors could potentially reach out more to ask their employees if they feel burnt out, with 34% of the employees saying that they don't. Now, we have covered a lot of information, but we wanted to just summarize some key takeaways. First, over half of Georgia nonprofits offer benefits, but there are disparities between large and small nonprofits. Georgia nonprofits are doing great at providing family-friendly policies and professional development to their employees. Working at an organization that offers benefits increases satisfaction with those benefits. Fourth, the most important reasons for leaving an organization that we found are low pay, no pay growth, lack of benefits, and personal or family concerns. Fifth, Georgia nonprofit employees have high job satisfaction. And lastly, more than 1/3 of employees reported symptoms of burnout at work. Now, we want to hear from you. We had a few questions we wanted to ask, but we'd love to take any questions or thoughts that you have outside of these as well. We'd love to hear what you think about Georgia nonprofits are doing well and what they can improve on. Do these results resonate with you? Do they make sense? Does offering flexible work schedules mitigate the drawbacks of not offering benefits? And based on what you've learned, what ideas do you have for nonprofit employee retention? Thank you.